Hello, I'm Javier Hernandez, and I'm a teaching artist for Digital Arts. So right now we're going to cover two topics, the tools you'll need to make your comic, and we'll actually take a look at volume 1 of the Comics Curan anthology we did previously. So first off, the great thing about comics, as far as all the art forms, I guess like writing, right? You just need a pencil and paper. But for our comic, the two basic things we're going to need as far as the tools, we need paper to draw on and a pencil, at least the starting point's a pencil. So this paper, this is just regular copy paper from the printer, from the computer. This actually is the exact same size as the comic we made that we published, Comics Curan, but you don't have to work at this size, although if you do, then we can avoid a step in having to reduce your art later, but we'll go over that in a different tutorial, I guess. And then, light colored paper is better. You don't want to have, the dark gray of the pencil or the pen trying to fight with like a dark gray paper. So white or even a light tan color, but I think white would be the best to work with. So as far as our tools, like I said, you need a pencil. Oops, sorry. If you like using mechanical pencil, that's fine. It's got a real fine point on it, or just keep your pencil sharpened. You can have a separate eraser. A lot of times our pencils are, we use the eraser to death and we have no more eraser on it. Eventually you're going to want to ink your comic. So you can use a variety of tools. There's way more available than what I'm showing here. But, you could use marker. There's a Micron. There's Sharp. I want to use Sharpie actually for the comic, at least not the fine point, because that's a pretty thick line. Which, when you're working on a small paper, you're going to get crowded out there with your ink lines. But find a pen you like, black ink, or if you want to use a brush. I think I had one here on the side. I haven't used one in a while. But here's a brush. This was used for painting. But you could use a brush, dip it in ink, and ink your comic. But I'm going to go over, though, just the rest of the tools. Of course, a ruler, right, for the panel borders, and I'll show you those in a sec. And you might want to use a whiteout. This is a Presto Jumbo Correction pen, but there's all different types of whiteout. There's even ones with the brushes and paint, the white paint. But right, if you make a mistake, like this black line I drew on here, I can just, white it out. It's just white paint, but it's got to dry. But and then conceivably, I could go over that line again or shift the line with the black ink. So the tools are pretty simple, pretty inexpensive as far as just drawing it out. So keep those in mind. You can get those at most, any art store, Michael's, Blick's, the 99-cent store. You can get a lot of these things. I think I've seen mechanical pens there, and of course pencils, rulers, and paper. Let's check out this comic here, Comics Curan, Volume 1 from Digital Arts. So I was the lead instructor on this, and we did this in the fall of 2019, a mental health comic. But we had great students doing some really great work. Some black and white only with a little bit of color. Some were full color, right? All different types. But basically, we're going to show you how to do your own comic story, or at least give you the beginning tips, pointer tips. But, this is a page, obviously. These were all 2-page stories. In the comic, these boxes are actually called panels. Right? So there's 4 panels here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's no set number of how many panels have to be on a page. It could be 2 or 3. It could be, look, this has quite a few on a page, right? To tell his story. So this is, 4 is not bad. 4 and 5 is, I hate to use the word standard because I just said there's no set thing, but most comics when you look at, they kind of break down to 4 or 5 or 6 panels, but it's kind of whatever you need to tell your story. So she had to figure out what her story was, and then she did a rough draft, and then okay, this is what she needs. You know, it's very traditional. You always start at the top, just like reading any, you know, text. Start at the top and go across. The panel starts up here, so then you go down to the next row, left to right, next row, next row, next row. Then you go to the next page, start on top. So it's a very traditional format on his comic. This one's interesting. It's a little bit of a departure, and I'll show you why. So it's a 2-page comic. So look, the first panel is actually one tall, it takes up the whole height of the page. So you just read going down. Then you go to the next row, and because there's no panel to the right of it on this page, then you just start going down. In her case, you start going to the word balloon, left to right, dun, 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 dun. So she's laid it out where she knows how you're going to start left to right and go down. So the second page, now here's where it's interesting, because you might think, okay, so you told me to go from left to right. So you go here and you read this little eyeball panel. But I mean, instinctually, you just go down here and read that one because the eye's looking both ways. You know, it's possible someone might go here, here, and here and kind of mix up the story at that point. But I like the fact that if you look at the panel height here, it's a little shorter than, like this panel is a little shorter than that one. That might have been her signaling to the reader, this is all contained. And then the other thing is, I naturally started reading down this way, and then I went to the right. But she did a symmetrical design where, see on the first page, they got the large panel on the left, and then the other panels. On the second page, you got the large full panel on the right. So again, instinctually, you know, I hope it's clear to anyone who read her comic, you'd go down this way and then to the right. So there's a nice balance between this image and this one, especially if you read the story. A really good example, and a little different. And it's okay to be different. You know, sometimes you want to experiment and everything. You want to make sure you never lose the reader. That's the thing. So we'll talk about that in another lesson I have. Here's the one that's not traditional panel either. It's not like there's panels going across. You start here and go this way, and then it's like a montage scene. See, this character is dealing with anger issues. So these are called montage. You don't have to read these in a particular order. It's just showing his anger. He's kicking things, fighting with people, hitting his fist in the wall. And part of anger is also like to crash when we're sad and upset after we think about it. Again, this whole page is a montage. He's got his text down here, but basically it's laid out nicely. This person is now meditating to, you know, calm down and to work through his anger. So you don't have to read these in an order. I mean, you could go clockwise, but it's basically, this is everything he's doing to manage his anger. You know, therapy, he's exercising, he's writing a journal, he's actually talking to people, not fighting, and he's meditating. In this case, he's on a nice desert island in the sea. So these are our students. So anyway, just to give you an idea of what you'd be doing here for a mental health comic. And these are samples of what our great students did last time around. So thank you very much.